Being a dad is not about knowing all the answers. It's about showing up every day with love. कोई भी उसको गोद में उठा के निकल जाएगा कहीं घुमाने ले गया. I mean, I'm quite friendly with my child. I see glimpses of my personality in him. It was quite a potent moment when I held my child. Hi, this is Sumeet Vyas, and you're watching me on Mapa Bear India. All these years that I've been working as a freelancer, we didn't have a concept of Sundays. The days when I was free would be a Sunday, and then, the days I had work. So we didn't operate like that. But ever since I've had Ved, I've made it a point that I don't work on Sundays. I've consciously brought that change into my schedule. And now Sunday is at home. I'm around all day, and he also really looks forward that I'm around. So yeah. In life, I'm a bit of a planner. I don't do go with the flow a lot. As far as parenting is concerned, the way we are in metro cities, we are in nuclear families. So there's a definite structure to the child's day, and our life figures around that structure. To be honest, that most of that planning is done by Ekta, my wife. She's planned his day, and invariably also planned my day. Yes and no. I was growing up in a very different environment. Ved is growing in a very different environment. When I was Ved's age, or a little younger than him, 2-3 years old, I was still in Jodhpur. We were living in a joint family, big ancestral house in Jodhpur. There were lots of people, and the parenting style was very different at the time. In fact, when we had a child in Jodhpur and in our family, आप ये नहीं बोल सकते थे कि हम मेरा बच्चा है. वो घर में सबका बच्चा होता था. इनफैक्ट पेरेंट्स को सबसे कम हक होता था बच्चे पे, और बाकियों को ज़्यादा हक होता था. कोई भी उसको गोद में उठा के निकल जाएगा कहीं घुमाने ले गया, किसी ने खिला दिया, किसी ने. तो उस तरह से परवरिश होती थी वहाँ. पर यहाँ पर अब, because we live in a nuclear family, it's just me and Ekta mostly. My parents are now in Jodhpur. So when they visit, they're around, but it's just us and the nanny. So yeah, in that sense, it's very, very different. But I see glimpses of my personality in him, little bit. My parents didn't really pay that much attention to what I was doing through the day, and that's how things were at the time. You had to figure your own thing out. If I'm getting bored, it was not their problem. It was my problem to solve. So as kids, you figure out what to do. We didn't have as many toys when we were growing up. I grew up in a very lower middle class setup. So we didn't have the luxuries that my kid has or most of his friends have, But what I liked about my parents is that they always let me be. They were not very intrusive or anal about how I should do things and what I should do through the day and where I should go and what I should learn. And, none of that happened. I could do whatever I want, as long as I went to school, came back, and did my chores. So I've always wanted to be a dad since I was 21. This has always been on my mind. So it was it was quite a potent moment when I held my child. I don't know what it was and why it was there, and why I so badly wanted to have a child all my life. I still haven't found an explanation for that. But it was perhaps the most special moment of my life. I mean, everything is unexpected. You think you have an idea of what you're going to do when you have a child. You've seen, parents around, parents with the toddlers and young kids and everything, and you always feel like, "Arey, they shouldn't have done this." If I was in their place, I wouldn't panic so much, and I'd be far more chill and this and that. Uh, but when you actually have a child, it completely goes. All your ideas of what you were going to do go out of the window. So you realize how unprepared you are for whatever the situation is going to throw at you, and then you discover things, you discover your own personality of how you are, what kind of parent you are becoming. It's not something that you can decide and become. It's also something that reveals itself as you go along. Uh, I think I'm patient. I didn't think I had this much patience, uh, but I do now. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite friendly with my child, but there's definitely a sense of respect and restraint, uh, which surprisingly he has on his own. It's not something that we have instilled in him. He's only 4; he'll be 5 in a month. So it's not like I haven't. Obviously, I'll never hit my child, no matter how little it is. I don't believe in that. I've not yelled at him. Of all the fits that he has thrown, I probably have raised my voice twice, uh, for which I felt terrible and for which he made me feel terrible also. Uh, so I didn't think I'd be this person. I thought, ज़्यादा कुछ बदमाशी करेगा तो डांट दूंगा. I always thought of myself as that person, but I'm the complete opposite. I just can't seem to see him scared of me. I would not like that. No, I mean, not like my dad was a very aggressive person. He was also a pretty mild-mannered person. And I was not a straight child. I was quite a problem person as a kid. Uh, so I would assume he had a lot more patience than I do, because I was one disaster after another. I was on that journey while I was growing up. So in that sense, I don't think he. But I always had a lot of respect for him. I still do. So there was this little bit of distance that was there between us, uh, which stems from affection and respect, and not non-accessibility. I hope I'm making sense. So, and that I appreciate it actually, and it's still there. And he always allowed me my space. And growing up, I've realized that it's very, very important to me. And as now I have a child, I respect his space a lot, even though he's 5. But it is his space. If he needs time, he needs time. If he wants to do something, we're pretty conscious of that. Some people think that they have to orchestrate it, but it's not needed. It's there. It's there in all of us. It's there in our DNA. There is a line that cannot be crossed, and kids sense it. As human beings, we sense it. Like there are some people, when we meet them, and we immediately become friendly. And some people, when we meet them, we feel a little bit of restraint. And some people we don't want to be friends with, even though we've not met them and they're just in the room. And, so these are all things that are there in our DNA. We can sense it. So similarly, respect and these behaviors are also ingrained in us, and kids learn most from what they see, and how you operate around, how you talk to your staff, how you talk to your partner, how do you operate when you are in a situation of confrontation, how do you deal with that situation. So they see that and then they learn from it. Yeah, it was. So Ekta's sister had a child before us, and her husband was once casually mentioning that their child's name is Viraj, and he said he liked the name Ved and he wanted to keep Ved, but Ved didn't match well with their surname or something like that. And as soon as he said Ved, something happened in my mind. I was like, Ved, great, yes. If we ever have a boy, we'll name him Ved, Ved Vyas. I mean, I read up about him. I read up. There is somebody asked Ved Vyas. Ved Vyas is obviously a literary genius, and he's the one who's written on Ved Puran उन्होंने लिखे हैं, महाभारत लिखी है. Somebody asked him to explain religion. What is religion? And he said, अष्टोदश पुराणेषु व्यासस्य वचनो द्वयम्. अष्टादश पुराणेषु व्यासस्य वचनो द्वयम् परोपकाराय पुण्याय पापम परपीड़ितम. Which means that 8 वेद पुराण सारे 8 दिशाओं की सारी किताबें पढ़ने के बाद धर्म के बारे में मुझे 2 ही चीज़ें समझ में आई कि परोपकार पुण्य है और पीड़ा देना किसी को वो पाप है. That's religion. So when I understood that, I was quite proud of the name that I kept. Sleepless nights, yes, that has always been a problem. That was more of a problem for Ekta than me, because she's a very light sleeper. I guess most mothers are light sleepers. Ekta, I would say, is the lightest, because you can literally like move a hand and she'll wake up. So for that, she had a difficult time. So recently, she was out to shoot something. She was leaving town, and Ved was at the time 3.5 years old. She had to go for maybe a week or so. She was very stressed. How is he going to sleep and this and that? And he wakes up in the night. So, and I was like, no, I guess we'll manage, it shouldn't be that big a problem. Because when he wakes up, he wakes her up. He doesn't wake me up. So, and then I was also scared when she left that now he's going to wake me up and I won't be able to sleep. So the first night he woke me up once at like 3-4 o'clock or something, and then I put him to sleep and he went to sleep. And the next night he didn't wake me up. And I was quite surprised, how can he not? And then I saw the footage on my baby cam. He did try to wake me up, but he wasn't persistent. So I didn't wake up. And then he got bored and then he went back to sleep. And the third night, he must have tried. And then that effort immediately, he went back to sleep. He was like, this guy's not going to wake up. And from the 4th night, he stopped waking me up. He would wake up, see me, and then go back to sleep. So both of us slept quite well, actually. I don't know if this is a healthy way to go about it, but it happened. We slept well, and then we woke up and we played, and it was fine. Up till a certain age, I think up till when the kid is like 2-3 years old, a lot of parenting happens by the mother. The father can assume that he's available and he's helping out and he's doing a lot of things. But to be very, very honest, you can't do much. The mother does have a very, very special instinct about things, which fathers unfortunately don't have. So you can be present, and it'll always be, I think, 60-40, 70-30. Even if you are like really committed to, being an equal parent or whatever, it always is like that. In our case, it was more like that because she had taken a sabbatical from working. So she was home and she was around. And I was traveling and working and shooting. And so I'm out most of the time. Like today, I'm out. I don't think it's going to influence the choices I make. But one thing, definitely, there is one shift that happens, that when you have a child, suddenly you become less important for yourself. You know, in your own head, your issue and your dreams and your aspirations and your choices and your dramatic whatever elements, they all take a back seat. For me, it happened. I think, not that I took myself very seriously, but I became a little less important for myself after I had a child. I mean, now he's at a very interesting age. I really like this phase a lot, when he started talking. We have conversations. He talks a lot. I talk a lot, so that has worked out well. Uh, so I tell him bedtime stories, improvise and tell him stories, and I think when he was three and a half, one night I told him this random improvised story about this train, and people are traveling in it, and then there are bad guys and villains, and they come and they capture all of them, and then there is Spider-Man, and he comes and he rescues them because he likes Spider-Man a lot. And then middle of the story, he stopped me and he said, "It was me." Like, what? It was me in the mask. I had come. And I'm like, no, how can you come in my story? I just made it up. And then I realized that even at this age, he has no exposure of what acting is, what roles are. He could have chosen any character in the story. There were lots of characters. There was the station master, there was the villain, there was this kid, there was this other uncle, and he chose the lead part. So even as a 3.5-year-old, it's your human instinct to lead. And yeah, that day I realized that if I want lead parts in my life, not just the films that I make, but like in life, you want to lead. Yeah, there is this instinct to lead and be there. It's quite rudimentary. It's mostly instinctive. Uh, I follow a philosophy that I will never listen to any philosophy that anyone says on a podcast. That philosophy I follow, because every parent is different and every kind of parenting is different. We have a lot of kids in our building and they're roughly the same age. And if you go to each household, they have a different set of rules. They have a different set of do's and don'ts and rights and wrongs. And that happens based on how you were brought up. What was important to you when you were growing up? What was fed to you by your parents? You know. So it's. I think we are also at this age where we have too much access to information, which is actually of no use to us. You know. Uh, so there's that basic trust on other human beings when they tell you something, and then back in the day, how would you know things about parenting? Because of what your mother told you, or your mother-in-law told you, or some auntie told you, or your pediatrician told you, some friend told you, based on their life experiences. And now you have access to kids in Spain and kids in LA and kids in UK, and somebody is trying to tell you strawberries are good for your child, and somebody is telling you strawberries are bad for your child. Milk is good, milk is bad, water is good and water is bad. Combing your hair is good and not combing your hair is good. So you're going to go crazy if you're going to listen to all of this information. There's always so you go by what you feel. At some point you'll have to follow your gut and your instinct and see what the child is reacting and how he's reacting. And that is the truth. That is the only reality that exists. It just annoys me deeply. Yeah, it's a very tough phase for any parent. The first couple of months are the toughest. Uh, it's tougher for women, for sure, because their body has gone through a lot. They've like They produced another human being. So you cannot compare what they might be going through physically and emotionally and all of that. Uh, but fathers also go through their own share of struggles, whether it's emotional or whether it's psychological. Uh, and there's also, you're also trying to deal with, your partner's uh, range of emotions, because her hormones are going all over the place, and you understand that and you want to be there. Some days are very exhausting. Some days you are also going through a bit of a grind, so you do not have the patience. So they are tough on you. Uh, but I guess you sail through it. It's part and parcel. Yes, you do. Because you want to help out and you want to be there, but there's only so much that you can do, because it's also so internal, that whole process is. That there's very little that I can say or do that is going to help that person. I can be around, and in our case, my child was born in the peak of COVID, 2020. So I was around a lot, actually. Maybe if I was around a little less, it would have been easier. Sometimes you need space from each other also. Unfortunately, we were unable to give each other that space. We were just in each other's face all the time. Some people like to communicate when they're stressed or under distress, and some people don't like to communicate a lot. They like to take their time and be on their own. Uh, like I like to communicate a lot. It's a problem. I guess that's why I'm a writer or an actor, because we like to communicate all the time. And she's somebody who does not like to communicate, especially when she's under some kind of stress or when she's not in the best of moods. Uh, it took me 4 or 5 years to understand this, because for me, I mean, I feel like there is a problem, so we should talk about it. We have to talk about it. Uh, but not everybody functions the same way, and it took me some time to come to this understanding. They happen all the time. I don't show it, but it happens all the time that you feel you're drained and you're not sure if what you're doing is right and all of that. So they happen all the time. I can't think too much. If something is really bothering me, uh, I don't have any process actually. I go for a walk. You know, if I'm really stressed, I fall asleep uh, because my system shuts down. So yeah, I spend some time by myself. I guess that's what I do. It's better that ways. Uh, I have this. Otherwise, I have this fear that if I keep sharing all the stress that I have in my mind, then I'm just going to put everybody else under a lot of stress. So, I have my own mechanism of doing my own thing. I mean, you do have a lot of respect because this person has gone through like quite a life altering situation. Ours was a cesarean delivery, and she my aunt owns a maternity place, and so we went to her because I couldn't trust any other hospital at the time, and we were in the peak of COVID, so we were all scared. And so she owns this very little quaint maternity place, and so we were at her clinic, and she just took the steam out of this tense situation. She's like, yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it, no, we'll sort it out. She didn't make a big deal out of anything actually, and that was very relaxing for us. Even on the day of the delivery, there were only 3 people in the operation theater, and my aunt, who was the main, surgeon, and her husband, who was, I think, also helping her out, and one person who was handling the anesthesia. And Ekta, she took her in, and then I asked my aunt that should I also come. And she said, "तू क्या करेगा अंदर? बाहर रुक, अभी 15 मिनट में बच्चा बाहर आने वाला है." So then I was like, okay. And then I think Ekta must have told her that she would like me to be there. So then made me wear the gown and everything. I went inside, and my aunt asked me, "You're okay, right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay." And then at some point, the anesthesia kicked in, and she was asking Ekta, "Are you fine? Are you feeling any pain?" And she said no. But I could see her like poking really hard. So she guessed that, okay, it's worked. And then she gave a cut. And as soon as she gave a cut, there was some blood. And I almost fainted, which is when the anesthesia person caught me and said, "Sir, आप बैठ जाइए यहाँ कुर्सी पे." Because I have zero experience of blood. I don't like blood. It's there inside me, but I don't want to look at it. And I don't like needles. They hurt. So I come from that school, let's talk kind of school. And thankfully, Ekta is quite brave with these things, and she feels painless and all of that, and she's very brave with these injections. Ye, wo, haan, so, she's very fond of science. She's also studied microbiology and stuff like that. I'm an art student, so मेरा इससे कुछ लेना देना नहीं. So yeah, I did struggle there. I would say that, and I didn't look at it too much after that. I only looked at the baby when it came out, and that did something to me. Yeah, lots of times. I don't make a big deal about crying, to be very honest. I think it's a very regular human emotion. When it happens, it happens, When I feel like crying, I cry. I mean, इसमें बिल्कुल भी ताकत का प्रदर्शन नहीं है. अगर मेरे को रोना आ रहा है और मैंने रोक लिया, इसमें क्या हो गया? सुसु आ रही है, उसको रोक लिया बहुत देर तक, तो उससे क्या होगा? तकलीफ होगी. So you should, if you feel like crying, you should cry. I feel like crying and I cry. The first time when I was playing with my child, he was this small, he fit in my palm. I also have very big palms. So I was trying to make him laugh. And for a few days, he didn't laugh because he was only a few days old. And then one day I did something and he laughed. And that day I had tears because of all the people that I've made, of all the jokes that I've cracked in my life and people I've made laugh. That day when my child laughed, it was very rewarding. What am I healing from? I mean, not really. I'm fine. There was a bunch of struggles that we went through as kids and as a family. But while you were in it, you didn't think of those things as struggles. Growing up, you carry some of those complexes with you. If you've come from a very lower middle class or poor background, you didn't have many things, you didn't have toys, this and that. You didn't have money for a lot of things. So growing up, when you start doing well and you start making a little bit of money and see a little bit of success, you carry that baggage with you. You're also trying to constantly, get over that feeling by doing too much, spending too much, or going a little bit crazy about those things. And then you calm down, I guess. I mean, I did calm down after a point. So those are the only complexes I have, but I don't think healing is a very strong word, I feel. Healing comes into place when you've really gone through something very, very tragic. There are people who've gone through great tragedies, you know, situation, and life has been really unfair to them. And that requires healing. If you've been, and it could be anything, need not be a tragedy. It could be some kind of hurt that you felt, which is very, very deep, and you need to heal from it. Thankfully, I haven't had that in my childhood. It was a fairly normal childhood, as having fun. I mean, every time I go out of town for a shooting, or I also do theatre, so for my shows I go out. He's always asking me, "What are you going to get me?" And I tell him, because I feel terrible when I have to leave him and go for many, many days. So I tell him that I'm going to get you a gift. And when I come back, in my head, there is a scene where I'll come and open the door, and he's going to come and hug me. And then he comes and he goes straight for the toy. "Hey, Papa!" And he goes straight for the toy, and then he goes away. And then I have to ask him, "Arey, can you give me a hug or something?" Yeah. So, yeah, that happens. About life and fatherhood. About life, what can I say? It's, don't take it too seriously. When it is not going your way, which will happen a lot, don't take it seriously. And when it does go your way, then even then don't take it seriously, because it's going to change very soon. So don't take it too hard. Have a little distance from your feelings. I think it's very important to have some kind of distance from your feelings so that you can observe them. Have a little bit of a judgment on how much to feel when. Is it wise? If you can moderate that, it really helps. A lot of people go through a lot of pain around me. I see them, and I feel like a lot of it stems from they're unable to moderate how much they are feeling about what. I could see a baby kitten who's just fallen sick in front of me on the road. It's a very hurtful feeling. I would want to do something about her. But how much? How much am I supposed to feel about it? Somebody said something stupid. My food was about to get delivered at this time and it hasn't. How much should I feel about it? So once you start knowing this, once you can observe your feelings, okay, this person has said this to me, it is stemming out of this, and that's why he or she has said this. They may have said something really stupid in a spur of a moment. It has got nothing to do with our relationship. And just to be able to observe your feelings, it really helps.
Yes.
And about fatherhood, I mean, we'll talk about it when he becomes a father, I guess. Because he's obviously going to right the wrongs that I have done. Like as I'm becoming a father, I feel like, oh, my dad was like this, and I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it completely differently. So I guess he's going to do the same.